Welcome back to another episode of Minus 16, the podcast where we talk everything about the business of YouTube and, of course, the latest gear, tech and gadgets as well. And this week, if you're watching the podcast, you'll see 3 has become 4. Sam, welcome.
What's up?
Hello.
Now, I've got to warn you, Sam and I have been chatting for just a few minutes when we started recording. He's just dull. He's got no character. I've got a feeling we're going to have to try and pull him out of himself. There's just no buzz in the room at the moment. You know, I'm struggling to get anything out of him.
Yeah, I got to drink more coffee, hey.
You don't need more caffeine. You really don't.
It is pretty late in Australia, to be fair.
Yeah, we've got Daniel to thank for this one. Daniel's been mentioning Sam for a couple of weeks to us and said, we've got to get Sam on, and here we go. So, Daniel, how you doing, man?
Mission accomplished. I can leave now. I've done my part. I've got him here.
A swift replacement.
So, well, Daniel, why don't you kind of, bring Sam in and talk, because obviously you two have got more of a connection. You usually know one another, so.
Well, I guess I'll introduce him. Samuel is a tech YouTuber based out of Sydney, and he's quickly become very well known and popular in the space. He's already got 115,000 subscribers. He's got an engaged viewership. You just have to read his comments of people who just absolutely follow each of his videos with so much engagement and intent. And we scored him to talk about it. Samuel, why don't you start, I guess, telling us why you began with YouTube at all? Like, what was the starting process like?
How honest can I get here?
As honest as you want, man.
As real as you want.
You've heard us before.
I'll be honest. So I make videos for a living, yeah? So I do corporate videos, stuff like that. I loved that job. But ever since COVID, work was slow. And it got to a point where there wasn't my next job was in 2 months' time. So I'm like, you know what? Might as well do YouTube. I've always wanted to do it. So I might as well make YouTube videos. So that's kind of when I started my first kind of video. But I'll be honest, man, it was scary uploading the first video. Like, I think it was on my mind for maybe 7-8 months. And I had to be in a position where I literally had nothing to do. And out of sheer boredom, I just thought, you know what, let's just do it. So that's kind of how the first video went. And I got about 6 views. So that was a bit depressing, but yeah.
Why tech?
Tech, you know what? If you actually scroll down, I've kept my first videos. If you scroll down and watch my first couple of videos, it wasn't tech. So 10 years ago when I'm still into tech, but 10 years ago, I was even more into this stuff. And I told my friends I wanted to start a tech channel. And he said, I'm not going to mention him. He'll know who he is. But he said, don't do it. It's too saturated. Like, you're going to burn out, stuff like that. So I actually took his word and didn't start tech because, and so when I did the YouTube channel 10 years later, which was like last year or whatever, I was like, I'm not going to do tech because I don't know, for some reason that was in my head. So I decided, you know what, let's do my second favorite thing, which is like productivity or like, stuff like that. But clearly I wasn't as passionate about that. And then one day, like, I was getting 6 views. And then one day, I'm like, let's just make one tech video. I'm getting 6 views anyway. So let's just make a tech video. And that's the first time I got more than 10,000 views. And so I'm like, you know what? Screw that. Let's go all in on this tech because it's way more fun. I can actually do this like for fun. And yeah, so that's
nice.
Yeah.
That's kind of similar to Alex, though, because Alex's first videos were nothing to do with trainers, wasn't it? Football boots?
It was a pair of trainers, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I knew it was going to be about gear and tech, but I wasn't really sure it was going to be like handheld devices or, smartphones and things. But yeah, the first one was just a pair of trainers. It's like, I left it there as well, just to remind where you came from.
Running shoes. Got to translate it into Australian.
Oh, yeah, okay. Sorry, yeah.
So
sneakers.
Running, like as in your content was about running shoes, or you just made one?
Yeah, the tech behind the run. There was a little bit of tech about the running shoes, but it was nothing like technology related, really. Okay. I have one question for you, Sam, because I noticed that I haven't watched all your videos, but I watched some of the recent ones, and there's a charity behind it, right? And I just wondered when you started to introduce that idea as kind of, because you maybe talk to us about that as well, because it's such a nice thing that you're doing that not many people probably know. It'd be good to kind of know first what that is, and then second, where the idea came from, because I really like that.
Yeah, so that so that's kind of the DNA that our family has. Family as in my wife and I. It's my wife more so than me.
Yeah.
Where we're into this, we go to church, right? and they go on their own thing, but we never really. We kind of wanted to do our own thing with the gifts and stuff like that we think we have. And my one is obviously videos. So my dream from ages ago was to film documentaries around the world and stuff like that. So that was kind of the goal. So every job I had, everything I tried to learn was to get to that point of being able to shoot documentaries for like charities and things like that. And which led me to the corporate video. So I thought if I make a company, then the company can fund the charity stuff. But I've been doing that business for like 5 years, and it's difficult, man. Like it's still difficult. Like it's hard to take a month off, especially when you're doing business, because all of a sudden, as soon as you're off, no money's coming in. Like, so it was quite difficult. And then when YouTube happened, it was like a light bulb. It wasn't like I didn't connect the dots initially, but at a certain point, it just hit me one night. I'm like, oh, this is it. Everything I've done led up to this point. And so it's like, makes total sense. Now I can literally make money in any country I want. I don't have to be in Australia. So that's when we doubled down on it. And I put it out there on the internet when I had like 6,000 or 7,000 subs saying, this is what we're going to do. And then I just kept envisioning it. And then now we got to actually live that. And that's the most exciting part for me for this YouTube channel, rather than the video. The videos are fun, but like when I go overseas,
it's such an. I mean, when you look at it from a macro perspective, and you look at the underlying message that you're doing it. That's probably why people kind of sign up to it as well, because it's not just another tech channel. There's a message behind it. There's a reason why you're doing it. I really find that really commendable, and well done for coming up with that.
Yeah, thanks.
Something
that
just struck me when you were talking about how you got into it. You're a filmmaker, so you understand the very essence of making video and how to make content look good. And you said even you were kind of shitting yourself before you put your first video up, which is, and that's it was one of my biggest fears. I had no idea, and yet here's a professional filmmaker still finds it intimidating, still finds it scary to press that upload button.
Yeah. It's I don't know what it is. It's just I don't know what it is, man. But it was a genuine fear. It got to the point where I couldn't do it, so I had to make a bet with my friend, and I said, if I don't have 2 videos by this certain date, I'll pay you $5,000. And I said to him, this is a contract. Yeah, so he was hoping that I didn't upload the video, but that was the only reason why I think I did it, because I knew I wouldn't have done it.
How is it now, Sam? Do you find it easier to? Because obviously, you said you sat on that idea for months, and I've been there, like sometimes kind of procrastinating in a way, but sometimes just you think, well, no, I want to make the perfect video, right? You want to make that video that is gonna, so it's gonna take longer, but sometimes you kind of put it out, and you kind of lose interest. How is it now for you? Do you come up with an idea like once a week, or do you only make a video when you're inspired enough to make it? How does it work with your content schedule now?
Mate, I'll be honest, I don't know what I'm doing. I still don't know. I like to
something in common with
I feel better now. I feel better now.
On Monday, I write scripts, and on Tuesday, it's bro. Look, you guys have, like, I don't know how many of you guys have kids. I think all of you guys do.
Yeah.
I've got quite young kids, so it's chaotic. I mean, you get depressed when you set a schedule, because you can never stick to it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got a bit more of a structure, but I've always got more ideas than time to shoot. But now the sponsors come into the picture, it changes the element. You guys will know. Like sometimes you're like, okay, I really want to make video A, but I need to pay the bills, right? So it's like, all right, how about I make video B, which is not my, first priority.
That is the biggest challenge,
still make
right?
it work. Yeah, and so it's like, you don't want to sell out completely. And there's there are some tech channels where they literally just do like phone case review, like whatever comes, they'll just make a video on that. And they're probably making way more money than us, but it's like no one's gonna follow you if you do that, right? So yeah, it's a challenge.
It's tricky. Yeah, definitely tricky, especially when it's like a dedicated video that it's a product that your audience is not gonna like. But yeah, you're right. So I think this is finding that balance. I mean, I struggle with it on a weekly basis, right? So what video will my audience like versus I've got a studio rent to pay, right? gotta.
Daniel, and where were you at? I mean, you've got kind of, because I'm right, watching your videos at the beginning of the year, you had quite a lot of sponsored videos going out almost back to back. There was one main sponsor I seem to remember, but you had regular sponsored content. And am I right in thinking it's slowed off a little bit recently? And also, throwing it to you guys over there, is it geographical? Are you finding that it's harder right now to find sponsors? I don't know how it's going for you two.
It has slowed. I think I've sort of shifted my approach with sponsors. I've got a media kit now, and the pricing structure is working a little bit differently. Especially now that I've cracked the 50,000, I think I can command a bit more of a fee, but I'm still getting the approaches for sponsorships from the companies that were there at the beginning in a way, and they still don't have the budget according to their responses.
Here's 150 bucks.
Yeah, no thanks.
I've got a story about that this week. Yeah,
but I think for me, I get the emails and then I respond, and some of them go quiet. And then I do have those geographical issues, even though I know one brand sponsored Samuel and then told me they can't sponsor me because I'm in Australia. I'm like, well, that's not true, is it? That's a bit of a stone-faced lie. I think Samuel has actually tried to help in sort of pushing them in my direction, but they still are a little bit iffy and funny about it. But that's fine. I'm sure as I grow a little bit more, it'll come to pass. But Samuel's he's been quite successful. He's got quite a few decent sponsors sort of coming on board now. Hey.
Yeah. We get, most of you guys know, like 9 out of 10 emails are just stuff it's not going to work for your audience, it's not going to work for you. There's quiet times. I think I don't know for us. I think because we went to Mongolia not long ago and we haven't been checking emails, so there's a backlog of like just emails we haven't really gotten through. And my wife used to do that, but then I said, give it back to me, because I feel like because it's my channel, it's I'm into the tech, so I think I have a more of an understanding of which stuff would work or not.
All fit, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not too sure what's happening these days, but like doesn't matter. Like I can't pump out videos once a week. Like that's my goal. If I could do once a week, that'd be crazy. But I just can't do it, man.
I want to ask about that.
Killing it with your video uploads.
I have a very different process to you. Like I've been part of your videos a couple of times, and I've seen the intensity of your shoots and like the intensity, and also just wear this and say this a few times, and I've seen that. So I guess I wanted to ask you, what is your filming process for a video like? Like, what's your lead-in time? Like, would you have a video running concurrently with another video that you're filming at the same time over a multitude of weeks, or do you plan it video at a time and then move on to the next one?
Nah, I've always got concurrent. I never did. Probably back then, like when I was uploading one every 2 months, something. Yeah, I'll just do one, I'll finish it, move on. But now that YouTube's the full-time thing, I've never got just one video. It's always, I do a flight and I'm filming like my fold, and then I take out the pixel and then I take out my earphone. Like it's like I picture like on the flight I've got because I've got all these kind of scripts and stories laid out, but I think I've overdone it. Now I'm losing track of everything. But yeah, it's never the same time. Like my fold video would come out one day, hopefully. But that was shot in Mongolia as well. My iPhone video was shot in Mongolia as well. My Pixel video was shot in Mongolia. It's like, yeah, it's always a mixed bag of stuff. But I do have a more of a bullet point kind of a script of what I want to try. So it's not like this is what I'm going to say and this is exactly what I'm going to do. But it's more like I'm going to try this, and then I'm going to try this, and then I'm going to try that. So I've got bullet points like that. And then I'll go and I'll actually try the cameras, or actually try the translation feature, or, and then once I try it, then I'll jot down kind of my thoughts on whatever that was.
Yeah.
And so that's
I have a similar, I mean, mine is probably not that organized, but when I go on holiday, I was in Portugal 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, exactly the same. I recorded all the Airbud stuff. I think my Galaxy Watch review is not published yet, but I've got pretty much 80% of the footage there. Yeah, I think, when you get to a point where it's a business, every opportunity, I mean, if I was to meet Dave, down in London or whatever today, I'll probably yeah, on the train, I'll be filming 2-3 devices. The problem I find, and I don't know if you find the same, you guys, but once I've got all that footage in all sorts of different storage places, it's like finding it as you're editing is a freaking nightmare.
File
like,
management, yeah.
You know, we got to find a one, like Google Photos helps a little bit, but man, there's so much stuff that I find things that are recorded months later. It's like, oh, there was that clip, you know. It's like so disorganized.
And also, it's just to Daniel's point when he was talking about the way you work, Sam, I was just nerding down on the kind of kit you bring to it. So with a professional background, clearly you've got a great array of kit you can use. And I don't know if it's unfair to say an average shoot of yours, an average video, but how much of that professional high-end kit? Because right now you said you're filming this on the iPhone 15 and it looks great. But I mean, clearly you're going to go to professional shoot with a different setup and when you're making your videos. So have you got a sort of a go-to camera setup? This is my steadfast one. I know this will work.
Yeah, so it's interesting because when I first started doing YouTube, my first few videos that got 7 views, they were all shot on like NTG3 microphones. You know, they chucked in a 32-bit float like audio recorders. I shot it on FX6 with you know proper lights and like I had the full setup. I had like a boom pole, you know. So to set up each shot, I would take the time, like I'll treat it like as if it's a corporate video for 7 people, right? But then as time went on, you know that tech video that I made, that was actually a Model Y video, right? And I used the iPhone 13 mini for majority of that. And that's the first one that hit 10,000.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, screw this.
Yeah.
I think it's the content. It's not the no one cares. In the tech industry anyway, no one really cares. Like, I think the content matters more. And if a phone's gonna enable me to get that shot quicker, that's what I'm gonna do. So slowly I've dropped the FX6. I'm actually gonna sell it. And then I've got an A7S as well. And so I'm slowly dropping that. And now my past maybe 3-4 videos, 90% of them are shot on a 15 Pro.
Wow.
So yeah. And now the audio, this thing, yeah, it's not anyway, this thing. I don't know if you guys know this. Daniel,
Oh yeah, Holyland. Yeah.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
like
Holyland, bro, you clip that on.
They're so
Blackmagic
good.
camera
Yeah.
app.
I think that's what Marquez used in
Yeah.
his auto channel, isn't it?
Oh,
I
that's
think that's what I saw it first. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what I saw it
Yeah,
first.
you see that all the time. I mean, I think I did my S24 Ultra review on that. Yeah, it's so good. So good.
So we have this group chat going on. We must make Samuel part of our group chat, by the way. You got to
Definitely,
come on board. It's good to have a chat. But Daniel made a really, and I'm going to let you take the lead on this one, Daniel, to do with skippable ads on YouTube. This was a really interesting read, and you posted this, so I'll let you kind of run with it.
I found it really odd that you can make full YouTube videos as a skippable ad.
So this is a full length, 10, 15-minute video you're talking about.
In front of someone else's video. Yes, full length. So like I was watching a video and someone else's, like a very popular, famous YouTuber with, is it 20 million subscribers that they've got? How many subscribers?
Yeah.
It's a lot. So that maybe narrows the field down a little bit.
You're really narrowing it down, bro.
Yeah. Haven't named them.
It must be Apple, right?
Yeah.
Could be. It was a full-length 15-minute YouTube video on some tablet, right? And it was a skippable ad in front of someone else's video that I was watching on YouTube at the time. And I thought, why is that happening? And then it sort of struck me, well, obviously it's a sponsored video by the brand. And then I went and checked in the channel's video list. Sure enough, paid promotion. This video is sponsored by this. And they'd paid for it to be a promotable video in front of other videos, thus inflating the view numbers, because obviously someone's going to watch an ad. That first 5 seconds you can't skip. Then you can
Counts
skip.
as a view.
Counts as a view, tick. So obviously that's hitting some sort of view metric, which unlocks, I guess, monetary value. And I think that kind of starts the whole conversation of, well, it's going to be a lot harder to get sponsors as time progresses, because the bigger channels are like, look at these views they're getting. And then at the lower end, you must hit a view metric to unlock the value. and really that view number isn't an engaged audience.
No.
And that's probably the legit way. I'm sure there's many others that are going down the less legit route, which is obviously inflating it not through proper channels, and then that's going to spiral things out of control even more.
Yeah.
Again, I know, Dan, Alex, this week you sent some screenshots, didn't you? Sort of saying exactly that people were just saying to you, we want this return. This is our ROI. We want these views.
Because, you know, when you start making YouTube videos, you know, you always have this idea, especially if you want to make it as a business. You want to go, you know, the goal for working with a brand, and you start sometimes, you know, making videos for free even, right? Just to build that relationship with a goal in mind that one day that will turn into a sponsored engagement. And even better, if you are then part of the embargo list. So, you know, I kind of went through those steps with a brand, and just this week released a video on I think it was not the first wave of embargo, but they did us like a second wave, and I was in that second wave, which is, you know, as a start. But the problem is I'm competing with those channels that are doing exactly what Daniel just described. So I didn't inflate the views, but I've had conversations with brands recently, especially when I say, look, this video is going to tank, right? So you've got an option, right? Because I'm not going to, you know, my rate is my rate, but I want you to have a return that you're not going to get a lot of views. And if that's what you're looking for, then there is an option for you to promote the video. A couple of brands did that, and I can see in the stats, it's absolutely doing nothing for the channel or the video. I don't know what those ads are, but they don't do what YouTube promises them to do. It's like, yes, you're going to get a view, but they're not engaged viewers, right? There's probably those 5-second skip, you know, like you forgot. You're not going to get someone to click it through the video and buy the product through those ads. So brands are being, in a way, scammed. And then people like, you know, like us trying to compete in YouTube, you know, even when you're on an embargo list, your video, I mean, my video, I don't think it got to 1,000 views yet. It's absolutely pathetic. And this other channel, in less than 24 hours, got 100,000 views. And okay, you know, it's got millions of subscribers. But looking deeper into the problem, you can see it's like, so yesterday I uploaded an iPad video, had a paper-like sponsor, I can say that. But yeah, it did 5,000 views and almost 200 comments. So very engaging videos. People are commenting, liking. I can see the AVD is really good. It's growing. This multi-million channel, right, didn't get 100 comments. In 100,000 views, hasn't got 100 comments yet. Most of the comments are actually on my response, because I went in there and I posted them. And there's like 20 people defending him. I was like, so I'm accounting for a lot of his comments. So there's probably 50 real comments on 100,000 views. I'm like, no, you know, who's getting, I mean, obviously the YouTuber, and I always try to kind of put myself in their shoes, right? When you reached that level, you got to think, right, they must be presented with an opportunity here, maybe 50K, maybe $100,000. I don't know what the money they're getting for that spot, but it must be their way out, because they can't be doing this with passion or with an idea to grow the channel further, because there's no one is watching it. It's like they're literally just using it as a cash cow, which is sad to see. But I don't know what you guys think.
Samuel?
Sorry?
Have you encountered that where brands been getting in touch with you and saying, look, we'll pay you X if that's your rate, but we're stipulating we want views, and it's all on the views. Have you had any of that kind of?
I kind of have, but I've kind of played it a bit risky. I shared this with Daniel already. I kind of do that to brands myself. So I would say, I'll have my rate and they go, nah, we can't hit that rate. And I go, what's the purpose of getting, like, what's the purpose of you guys trying to get sponsorships? For me to get sponsored by you guys is to sell whatever the product is. And you need more eyeballs on there. You need more engagement. So I said, look at this. How about if I get you an X amount of engagement, right? Then how about you pay more for that? But if I don't get 30,000 views, because they were like saying minimum 30,000 views or whatever. So I'm like, if I don't get 30,000 views, or I think it was 50,000 views, something like that, then you don't pay me anything. I'll literally would have done your mid-roll ad for free.
Oof.
But
okay.
if I get like over 30,000, I want this. And if I get over 100K, then I want this. So I have done that. and it has I have shot
There's
myself
a
in the
risk
foot with that
associated,
once.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
there was a time I'm like, oh shit, didn't even
It's
get like 20,000 views.
because it's
I've
kind
done
of
that before as
incentivizing
well.
it backwards, isn't it? Because I mean, it's incentivizing you to make the best video you possibly can, to integrate their product as well as you can, and also it's dangling the carrot to them. We can get something for free here if he does a really bad video.
That's it.
There's an option as well, right? I think I've done this with one of those VPN people. A similar thing. They came to me and said, "I want 100,000 views." It's like, yeah, I'd love. I won't be rude here, but I'd love to be a bit taller. You know, you can see where I'm going with this. I said,
Every inch
we'd all
matters,
love
mate, every inch.
bigger things, right? And lost my train of thought. I said, look, how about this?
Daniel's checking his kids out behind me.
How about this? I will hit that number, and if I hit, you pay my rate. But if I don't hit, I don't want to lose that work. So how about this? You get a free, like, shorter integration for free. So you're kind of, in a way, making 2 videos if you don't hit the numbers, but you're still getting paid. So I think the worst thing to do is to put all the risk on you, because YouTube can be an absolute B, right? We can have like consequent, like the previous 3-4 videos that you did on that theme might have done amazingly well, and then the 5th one, which is the one that you got the sponsor for, will tank. It's like you can never guarantee. So yeah, it's tricky. I mean, some channels can. Some channels are absolutely killing it, and I think some you're probably on that bracket that if you put your best content out there, it's likely to blow up. So I'm just not in that space. So I have to kind of views guarantees almost like a red flag these days for me. I'd say no to most. I haven't done my view guarantee video in 2-3 years probably.
And again, I mean, obviously we're being careful not to mention necessarily names and people, but there was somebody that Alex put me in touch with earlier this year, and it was a marketing company, and Alex sort of gave me a fair idea of what they were like. But anyway, I spent probably, all told, I would have thought maybe 3 or 4 days filling in different forms, going through all the stuff, paperwork you have to do, company registration number, blah, 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 back and forth. I haven't quite done this right. They knew my channel size. They knew exactly what I was getting. And a few months down the road, I kind of just said to them, I've had one lead from a sponsor that I'd already worked with, and I told you I'd worked with them. But other than that, nothing. He's, oh no, because we need really 50,000 views per video before we can reach out to the brands. Well, then why did we waste all that time back in the spring of me spending all this time, you back and forth? We had probably 4 different video meetings as well. Why? If I'm not of the right fit for you, fine, I get that. You know, I'm a small channel growing. Not a problem. But just be honest with who you're looking for. And equally, I know that some of the brands they've worked with aren't particularly stellar brands, despite what they're saying. So
and I've worked with those people, and I fired them because I had them for like a 3-month thing where they would be the exclusive.
You warned me of that,
representative. And I said, "Oh, I will give you a go. And if what you give me in 3 months is no better than what I can get, then thank you very much. We'll no harm, no foul." So they didn't. All the deals that they came through in those 3 months were worse or the same as I was getting myself, by the time they take that 20% or whatever it is. So I'm happy to pay 20% for someone if they're getting like 10, 15 grand deals, but they weren't that. They're like, 5 times less than that. So.
Something else you just spoke on there, which also I heard Samuel and Daniel talking about, the way that you kind of suggested somebody to me, and where you were saying, Daniel, this one particular brand was saying, no, you're geographically wrong. And immediately Samuel jumped in. And it's this unity that I've not been involved in a world like this, where there doesn't seem to be hardly any backbiting or stabbing. Everyone is genuinely in it together to try and help. And that is remarkably refreshing, because let's face it, we're all in front of a camera. There could be an ego situation. And I think I've come across that possibly once. Other than that, every single person I've reached out to has always been super friendly, gone over and above. Yeah, here's the details. Here's the email. Yeah, you can say I sent them to you. You don't need to go blind. That, all of it. It's just been amazing.
It's a really good space. Samuel and I have had many chats about the whole YouTube game. I remember when he was starting to shoot up, we had a chat and we spoke about AdSense, and it kind of, we lifted each other up and sort of gave each other this confidence that we were both sort of doing the right thing and there's potential here in what we're doing. And it just felt really nice, like to have someone who is potentially
your
making
corner.
the same type of tech videos, albeit to a much higher standard than what I'm making, but it's not taking viewers away from me. Like, we can share the viewer space. Like, they'll watch his video, then they'll watch mine. Like, there's already a number of people I've seen comments of saying that they watch both of us. I'm like, that's great. It's because we're not
Bro,
competing.
They love Steve Jobs.
They do love Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
The amount of Steve Jobs comments I keep getting, some of them are a little bit hurtful because they say it's a fat Steve Jobs. And I'm like, hey,
let's healthier days.
Yeah, it's fine. Steve Jobs lost weight. Maybe I'm due.
But yeah, I mean, again, it's so rewarding the way that you guys are helping. And how did you guys first actually meet? We haven't covered that point. Was it?
It's actually really random. I think I just messaged him on Twitter out of the blue. Do you remember it, Samuel?
Bro, I this whole time I thought I messaged Daniel first because I had a Dex question.
Yes,
but
it was something. It was definitely about. It was definitely about.
It wasn't
Dex.
So I think you messaged me DM first, but I messaged you on. It wasn't a message. It was more like a comment or something like that. I can't remember, but yeah, I genuinely needed this guy for like Dex. Like I'm like, it's my first Samsung. I want to know how this Dex thing works. That's how I found him through his Dex video. Found out he was an Aussie, so I was like, bro, let's
I think I reached out saying that you did like a keyboard video when apparently you're not a keyboard guy, which now you kind of are. And I just said, hey, your content's great. And then, yeah, you started asking me about Dex. And then I think I featured in one of your videos about Dex. And then you flew to the Gold Coast to get a Flip 5 off me. Just, on a whim.
You know what? Yeah, you know what it was, Daniel? Like, I think that time you jumped on my channel on FaceTime.
Yeah.
And you helped me with the Dex thing. We turned the cameras off. And dude, this guy was just like me. Like he was just like open book, We're just like, bro, you know what? Let's just be honest and like try to help each other out. Like, how much are you charging? And so like we literally just did that. And this was our first kind of chat in real life.
It took an hour and a half of filming away from the camera.
Bro, he had his like YouTube studio open. He's like, yeah, so what's going on? And he's like, oh, something's wrong, Sam. You gotta, help. And we're just helping each other out from like day one. So I think that's what hit us off. And we just went like, your success is mine. And we're both, we both started with, very little to nothing. And we never had help. Like, as in, sorry, when you start out, you don't have this connection.
No.
I was lucky I had Alex pretty much from the start. I messaged him right when I started, and he was kind of like you were saying, open book. He was very gracious and helpful. And like, I'd started watching Alex's stuff like 4 years ago. So I was like, wow, this big YouTuber with 50,000 subscribers is talking to me. I'm like, whoa, this is amazing. I told everyone. I'm like, they're like, oh, why'd you start YouTube? I'm like, oh, just for something to do. But I've got a 50,000 subscriber YouTuber who's helping me out. He's been really nice. And then, here we are on a podcast together.
While we're blowing smoke up the arse of Alex, I'm going to jump in and straight you up here, Alex, and tell you my Alex story. So the Minus 16 started off as my own podcast way, way, way back. And so I was trying to get weekly guests on, and it was, and I came across Alex and we got on really well. And he's in the UK and he's not that far away from me. And then we got chatting. And one day after we recorded again, he began looking at all my analytics and looking at my banner and looking at, have you posted a video at the top? Have you pinned? And all of this kind of stuff that as a newbie, you've got no idea of. And there's him sitting there. I mean, we are now making him into saint material at the moment. I mean, there will be a Saint Alex Day coming any moment soon. Oh, he will rise above us all. But yeah, no, it's true. You find these guys, and I now know, this is the first time I've met Samuel, but I full well know I can now reach out and say, man, I'm using the 15 of you. And we all just help one another out. And Samuel at the top said, a friend of yours suggested, no, the space is saturated. I genuinely believe there's no such thing, because the way that, for instance, all of us deliver our content, we are so different in the way we go about telling our stories and making our videos. But there will be crossover. People will watch all of us, but for different reasons, different times of day. They want a different vibe, a different flex. It just works. Yeah, and different opinions as well. I think, David, you said at the beginning, right? One of the things about the industry is that it's quite open, and people. It's so true, right? I haven't seen in many industries that share so much and are quite open. My best experiences are meeting other creators. Recently went to the IFA Berlin, which is the poor man's version of CES.
awesome just seeing other creators there. Some kind of at the same kind of journey as you are, and the same sort of size, some way bigger. But when you're there just chatting and going through your normal struggles, you're all learning at the same time. So it's great that you get to, one, experience how brands deal with those bigger creators. And it's so arbitrary because, when you look at, what we're producing, it's just a different style, but it's the same sort of, same sort of thing. It's just a different person doing it in a different style. But the number, unfortunately, is still what they look at. But it was interesting just kind of sharing information, sharing details, sharing like all the struggles that we face, and learning as well. I can ask, for example, there's a chap, you probably know him, his channel is called This Is E, it's Iskrim. Awesome channel. I think he does a lot
follow
of
him on Twitter.
Awesome. He was there, and he does this effect he uses Final Cut Pro, and I was like, dude, what the hell is that effect that you do between shots that makes the ripple thing? And it's like, that's the motion VFX matrix thing. I was like, fuck, I knew it. So now I use it a lot because it's like, but it was so nice just to kind of be able to tap on someone and just ask them that question, right, face to face. And like I said, in other industries, they'll go, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I have to ask my editor, and they'll be quite cagey to share it because they'll feel quite protective, right? I think in this industry, it's like, no, it's this one. Go and get it. Oh, and contact this person, by the way, because you probably get it for free.
And just to jump in and say, if you're a regular listener, viewer of the podcast, you'll notice we're doing things very differently this time. We haven't talked about gadgets. We had this, you'll know of our extensive production meetings. We didn't change anything because Sammy was part of it. We had that same huge meeting before the podcast, and we decided that everyone's kind of got their products at the moment, and they kind of know how well the Samsungs are doing and how well the iPhones are doing. So we'll talk about that briefly at the end, but it's far more interesting. We had a load to talk about YouTube this time, and I know many of you have been saying that you find this part of the show the really interesting part. So, and having sort of Samuel on with us with a new perspective. So there's something I was just going to mention, which I hadn't mentioned at the start, but it's something you'll all have your own procedures about. And as Samuel's with us fresh, why don't we throw it to Samuel? Your upload procedure. How much do you bother with this kind of keyword research? How much planning do you put into your title? How important is that title thumbnail correlation?
I'm going to answer that backwards. So title and thumbnail, how important is it? It's very, very important because I'm not that good at it. And I feel like if people don't click into your video, it doesn't matter how good the content is. Obviously, content is king. Content has to be great. But if your thumbnail and title doesn't stick, then no one's going to watch your content. And so I know how important it is. The problem is I don't put as much effort as I should, if that makes sense. Like I don't do much keyword research. I go more with feel, like kind of, And so sometimes some videos I will change the titles like 5 times within the first couple of days.
Same.
Yeah, but I still don't know what I'm doing with that. Like I'm not.
No.
There are people who are cunning. They are amazing at just like their content might not be as good as ours. But the title and thumbnail, bro, it's like, wow, you're genius. Like they must have I don't know. So that's something that I'd love to outsource, but
I only have one video a year that does well because of that. And it's one that I can predict. It's almost like 3-4 years now in a row. I just say, don't waste your money. And if I post it on a specific day and a specific time, it will do 100K views in a day. But other than that, I have no idea
Every
what else
iPhone
I'm
launch,
doing.
he does it.
Yeah, it's his iPhone video, yeah.
Yeah, it's on my phone. Before the iPhone is launched, don't waste your money. Abs guarantee. You can try it.
Damn.
So, I mean, presumably you're still doing everything yourself, right, Sam? You're doing your thumbnails and you're doing
No. Actually, no. So I watched a podcast. By the way, I study. I try to educate myself with this whole YouTube thing because it's so different. At least I put in at least 1 hour a week where I just go, all right, I'm just gonna sit and just learn something about this thing. And so I learned about the whole hook thing, which I didn't know before. I learned about all that, and sometime, I don't know, a couple months ago, I watched a video where Mr. Beast was saying thumbnail is pretty much everything, and he was the same as me. He had really good content, but his thumbnails were really crap. But his friends had very good thumbnails, but their content was crap. So they kind of worked together and helped each other out. And I was like, oh, it blew my mind. So from that day, I hired a thumbnail guy from overseas. So I don't pay him $1 million, but pay him good money for his country. And he's great. So I literally get my iPad out. Now I use my Fold and I just sketch something. And
I was going to say, how's it work? So you don't have to give them assets or anything. You just pretty much sketch down the ideas you've got in mind.
I trusted his Photoshop. He's so good at photo. He's got like 1,000 layers. Like, it's insane. His Photoshop files are a gigabyte. Like, have you seen a gigabyte Photoshop? I'm like, what the? Anyway, and so I trusted his Photoshop so much, I would literally just sketch something and be like, make it without giving him any assets. And he's like, Sam, bro, you need to give me some assets. And I can't just make stuff out of nowhere. I was like, all right. So I kind of have to sit down and still take like the basic stuff. But if it's like a product, I don't take photos of those. He just finds it online.
And have you found there's been a direct correlation between hiring him and click-through?
Only one video out of the 7 or 8 thumbnails he's done, only one has done well. And every video that's gone over 100K views for me, I've done the thumbnail. So my wife is like, I think you should just do the thumbnails. But the thing is, when I see his thumbnails, I'm like, this is great. But it's just, I don't know. I don't know if it's the thumbnail problem. I don't know if I'm because I only give him the thumbnails when I know I can't make it. Do you know what I mean? So if it's something I can make, it's like my head with a phone. I'm not going to get him to do it. So it could be that. It could be that I'm only giving him very, like.
Have you tried using AI stuff to give you ideas? Because I find that quite useful to say, here's an idea. I can visualize it, so I can kind of describe it in words. I can't produce it, but AI might show you something that, actually, yeah, you can kind of copy it, and the result is not usable because it's all people with 6 fingers, and but
it's giving you
visually,
a visual concept.
Visually, it might give you the right angle. It might give you the right lines to use. It's quite a nice tool to, as an idea generation. I think it's quite cool.
And have you found, since you've had your camera, Daniel, that making thumbnails, because I know that was one of the things you're most excited about, that you were going to be able to take really great product shots suddenly?
Yeah, see, it's interesting. It's a similar thing to Samuel in that when I got the camera, I was like, great, this thumbnails are going to be so much better. My click-through rate's going to improve. But the thumbnails that are doing well for me are in the style of how I was doing them with my phone. It's basically been like, well, I've got this camera, I'm taking all these awesome product shots and getting in really close with this telephoto lens and this nice bokeh and blurred background. And it's almost like it's too polished for what I'm doing. I think people like the more raw nature.
But it's brand recognition as well, isn't it? People know.
Absolutely. The rawness and the authenticness of my thumbnails are what people know and trust. Whereas I think if I try and give them something a little bit too polished, a bit too much high end, I guess, for want of a better phrase, they kind of are like, this video is going to be too, like, it's not in the style of what it's like, so they just avoid it.
One of our friends, I used to have a podcast with him, Patrick Rambles, and he's in one of our group chats as well. He said something that stuck with me, which was, when people are watching YouTube, they go into their monkey brain. So a product shot, a beautiful bokeh background and all that will look great as a photo, but not necessarily be good as a thumbnail. And I was dying to have the A/B testing available because I was 100%. I mean, I used to make 7, 8 thumbnails sometimes for videos because I just kept trying. So which one would do better? Now, at least I have an idea whether I should use a product shot or something with my face. Or sometimes it's just no words at all, just a product with very contrasty backgrounds. But yeah, I think that stuck with me because the thumbnails that do the best are the simplest ones that I probably spend 5 minutes on,
Yeah. On A/B testing, a couple of points to make. Do you think there's potential that they could harm your click-through? If out of the 3, one is definitely weaker and that's what's being served, do you think it's possible it could harm?
I have a theory on that. So my experience with it, I mean, I do it for every video now, even for this podcast. We've been doing it for 2-3 months now. I can see that when the video is doing well, they finish the test really quickly, literally within hours. So I think when that's a banger, they go, right, that's the one that's getting the most AVD, that's the one we will set. When the video is mid, which is probably 99% of my videos, it will run for 2-3 weeks, and you get very like similar results, like 2-3% between them.
I wondered why they shut down quickly. So that's it for videos performing well.
Videos that are banging, they will go, right, that's the thumbnail that's working.
Right.
Just stick with that one. So I think it, in a way, is not hurting if it's running, is because the video is probably not banging.
Performing. Yeah. Are you using A/B testing, Samuel?
Not as much as I should be. But yeah, I've only, out of my 50 videos, I've only done it on 4. I only recently found out you could do it through one of my 1 hour lesson stuff. I was like, what the frick?
I've been begging for this for years, man. It's so nice
and
to
I
have
was like, oh, I'm so excited. And then Daniel was like, oh, by the way, it's not click-through rate. It's
it's AVD, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, okay. But
so my position on that is, even if it's AVD and they decide on one that's like 1% higher, but you prefer the one that's more aligned to your style, I go and change it myself, right? Because if the difference is not that much, then it doesn't matter what the thumbnail is. But if obviously there's one that's doing amazingly well, what I hate is the fact that the thumbnail doesn't always go with the title, right? So you change the thumbnail, the title still relates to, so that limits a little bit what you set. Because I'd love to be able to say 3 thumbnails and 3 different titles as well. But
so you could go and change the thumbnail, the title to that thumbnail kind of thing. Because that's the thing, we can all change the titles, but then suddenly it's going to lose that, as you mentioned, the correlation between the title and thumbnail. It can be
so the titles are very bland at the moment, because I love using titles that are a little bit, borderline clickbait.
Punchy.
But with the A/B testing, that's the downside. You can't really do that because the 3 thumbnails won't necessarily match the title, which is annoying.
And they have to relate. Like, Samuel used the naughty word in the industry, Mr. Beast, at the moment, it seems. He's obviously stirring up quite a bit of controversy. No. It was just a joke. Apparently,
we had a whole episode about that,
yeah. Yes, everyone hates him now. It's a thing. I don't know. I don't hate him.
And we're all releasing our own wallpaper packs for $20 a month subs as well. We're doing that.
Yeah. I watched that episode.
It's going to be called Panels Plus.
Mine's going to be called a Pantone book.
It's interesting that you draw inspiration from what Mr. Beast was saying. That's when I started my channel. That was exactly the methodology I followed. I said title, clickbait enough, thumbnail that related to the title. Like, those two have to relate to each other. You have to draw a sort of a linear line, or like a squiggly line between the two, so they marry up with each other. A lot of people end up either doing the same title in the thumbnail as they do with the title.
Yeah, and you're just losing real estate. Yeah,
you're losing real estate, right? So you've got to cause intrigue and bounce the two off each other. So it doesn't make sense that they don't have thumbnail testing with title testing to sort of go
exactly.
with it.
It's so annoying. The other thing is, I mean, with all the AI power that Google has, right? I would love for them to actually use the AI to read the comments, or not to read, but to get the sentiment. I know it's possible. I've been doing this in other industries for like 15 years. I know it's possible to gather sentiment, or what people are saying about the video, and then use that as a metric to push the video. Because I hate to be even yesterday in the iPad video, I used the word disappointing. It's not a disappointing device. I don't think that, right? But if I don't use that word, I don't get the clicks. Yeah. Now, if I just say my 6 months review of the iPad, no one's gonna freaking click on that. But if I say a $2,000 disappointment, clearly it's working, right? So it's pushing us towards that clickbaity thing, which I hate doing, because it can be seen as misleading. But hopefully people click on the video and, oh, hang on, this guy's actually balanced in what he's saying. But
well, a couple of things I think it's worth touching on. We've got to talk about shorts, because obviously that's quite a big break of news since our last podcast that's about to roll out. And also to do with what you've all just been talking about there, and titles and getting too clickbaity, and coming back to the keyword research. Something, Samuel, you say you spent like an hour sitting down. I did that this weekend. I wasn't feeling great last weekend, so I sat on the sofa and I just watched loads of kind of tutorial things about, uploading, backroom stuff. And there was this point made that if I was to use, as a small channel, iPhone 16, 2 weeks with. And if somebody, say, like one of the multi-million, if Marquez or whatever, has used that kind of title, it's almost pointless me doing it. I'm going to get lost in the wash. Have you guys kind of experienced that? And how do you view that? Do you need to be careful with the title that you're not just repeating what all the other big guys, because if you're relying on search, you're just not going to get found, right?
Yeah, I don't take their approach at all. Like the 2 weeks later, or like full review. I very much like, I'll use my Z Flip 5 review from last year as an example. The thumbnail said, "Don't flip." And there was why this phone is not for you, or why the Z Flip 5 is not for you. And I followed it up with just the review of the phone was just all about how the Flip is different, and it's likely not going to be for the general consumer. It's going to be targeted towards someone who wants a different phone experience. And that kind of, it cut through. That video did like 120,000 views through search, funnily enough. It was external and YouTube search that video took off, because it was a different title compared to what was already out there.
Exactly.
So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I follow that to a T. I don't use the conventional big time reviewer titles at all.
It
Because,
resonated when I read it. I thought it made sense, and
Yeah, the reality is those guys don't rely on SEO as much as we do, right? Their videos will be pushed to their audiences because they get watched every time. We do need to put search terms in there, and that was a mistake I made early on. Like for about a year into YouTube, I was trying to be too clever with the title, but with no SEO in mind. Obviously, now it's different. I mean, I still make sure that there's at least one keyword in the title, because otherwise, you're gonna get buried.
And Daniel made another really good point on our chat during the week. The bigger you are, the crappier thumbnails can be.
Yeah.
They put in
Mate, Marquez
so
can just
little
put
effort.
And the titles,
Marquez
yeah.
can literally put a photo of his ass on the thing, man. It might actually do better. You know?
Yeah, shot on iPhone, my ass.
Like, yeah, shot with my ass. Literally.
But it's so true. Their thumbnails have
As soon as you said that, I was like, yes, Daniel, yes, I've noticed that.
They should literally fire all their thumbnail guys. They don't need them.
But they have a team of them to have a photo of them with a white background holding the phone, looking at it confused. Like, that's their thumbnail. And I'm like, how is that? And that'll do like 3 or 4 million views. I'm like, that is insane. But it's because they have the brand recognition. If they use their face, like Mr. Who's the Boss is another example. As long as his face is in there, they know it's his video, so they'll
get
watch
click.
it.
Yeah,
It's done. They don't have to do much more than that.
You know, we're talking about the thumbnail and title, which is important. It is. But one thing that I've been meaning to get back to try is when you start, you know, your title is whatever your title is, right? And if you explain that exact title to get people to know, oh yeah, this is not clickbait. This guy's actually going to talk about that thing. Like, to say it the first 5 seconds actually started doing well. I did it only in 2 of my videos, which one of them was I quit Apple for 30 days. And I literally, the first thing was me wiping the table saying I quit Apple for 30 days. And that actually did well. I mean, it was a good idea, but I think that kind of played into people's, like, increasing the AVD, if that makes sense. So, yeah.
Well, you're getting straight to the point, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's where a lot of people say is the people that spend the first 2 minutes waffling on at the start of their video, they kind of are like, oh, you're not getting to the point. You're just talking. And it kind of drops off. I started doing that too, where I just, the first 10 seconds, I like hit them with what the title and the concept of the video is. And then I do my usual spiel. And then I find that kind of hooks them in and keeps me going.
You guys all have scripts, right?
Yeah. I use key points from the script, but I'll have it all keyed out. So I tell the story still. I'm not forgetting points I want to make.
I know,
What
I
I
do
started
word
doing
by word
recently is-
pretty much.
Yeah. Whatever. It works for different people. But like, what I do is I actually put the title that I'm planning to use on top of the script. So I can, and I look back to it as I'm writing to make sure that I'm not like going too crazy. Because I tend to do that. Like,
Something I've gone back to trying, which seems to be working, is making sure I've got a product shot. Whatever the title is, that product's going to be in the first 15, 20 seconds. So it cut for me to a product shot very quickly, just to make sure if they're scrubbing through, they can see the iPhone, they can see the iPad, they know what they're going to be getting. Just to try and reinforce it and just hammer it home very quickly. Because, I mean, if you're new to making YouTube videos, it's so brutal, I'll show my other half this, that you get congratulated for the first 30 seconds of your video. That, you know, well done, you've managed to retain 68% of people in 30 seconds. You and I sit down and watch a movie, they get 15 minutes to tell a story. We get 30 seconds. for somebody to decide, nah, not for me.
Yeah,
That's brutal. That is tough. But that's where that wipe of the table, that would have got it. That would have that would have piqued people. What's he on about? Bang, yeah, just something impactful like that really works.
and it's not getting any better, right? The attention span is just going
Oh.
crazy. And YouTube,
Dude,
I don't know if you guys saw the news. We're getting a new product, a 3-minute
Perfect
short now.
segue. Yes, back in the shorts. Exactly that. So attention deficit, yes. 30 seconds, 1 second, 1 minute, now to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I've got my views. Chaps talk.
Wait,
I don't use shorts, so I can't.
They're increasing it?
Yeah,
They're
you can go up
increasing
to
it to
3
compete
minute
with
shorts now.
TikTok.
Yeah.
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 I mean, they're not
moment of
saying
silence.
it's
Moment of silence.
Yeah, okay. I'll jump in. Shorts, by definition, the name says it all. It's a different skill set. You kind of know what you're getting into, and once you find your flow with it, they're quite fun to do, and they have different metrics and different effect on the channel. I found it's a quick way of just making regular churn during the week. If you've got one main video going out, but you've got a couple of shorts going out, that just keep people vaguely interested. It might only pick up 5-10 subs, whatever, but it's just interest. It's something happening. And also, I'm convinced that YouTube love that regular churn and something happening. Whether they promote videos, treat your videos different, I don't know. But to go from 1 minute to 3 minutes, suddenly 3 minutes is a short long form in my mind. And you and I all know that people don't make it to the end of a 60-second short. You'll get click off. Why? Why?
It's just
know
to
why.
compete with
We know
TikTok,
yeah,
right?
Alex,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
The
think
thing is, though, it will only categorize it as a short if it's filmed or uploaded in 9:16 vertical. If it's a 3-minute video or sub 3-minute video that goes 16:9, it won't be put down as a short.
Yeah. So I've got a bunch in the can because one lesson I learned from the previous wave of shorts was, I missed the boat a little bit, and so I think I'll create a bunch of them for the 15th. I think they're the same. So next week. But I think in the long run, they can't be good for channels that are focused on long videos because a person watching a short and subscribing to that probably want to see more of that. Not necessarily a long 10-minute video about that product. I think in tech is so difficult because in a way it's nice for us to be able to offer it as a new product. We can say to brands now, hey, I can't do a dedicated video, but I can do a 3-minute short.
Yeah.
Considered that.
So it's
You don't do any
shorts
shorts at all,
actually.
do you, Daniel?
I don't do them. I think I did them at the start. I was clipping up my videos and turning them into shorts. And I've got one YouTube short that just won't die. Like, it just won't die. It's done like almost 400,000 views. And every day it sort of dips at the top of the day and does like 5 views an hour. And then at the end of the day, over the night, it does like 100 views an hour and just soars back to life.
Same.
I'm like, why won't you die? It just will not go. I just don't. It's my second most viewed video in the last 48 hours every day. Yeah. And I'm like, I just wanted to end.
I think it's a Tab S9 Ultra video that it was just a sketch that I did about taking the mickey of Samsung not changing anything on the tablet. So I just kind of used a Sharpie. Yeah, that video, same thing. It won't die. Even though the S10 is out, people still watching that video, even though it's irrelevant. But the thing is about, as a business, it's actually not a bad thing to have either as an offer instead of a dedicated or as a package, right? You can say you can do a dedicated and a 3-minute short, and then you kind of upsell a little bit. And in a way, you might clean the channel from dedicated turds, as we call them, right? Because you can say, the long videos are now my reviews, and you can only sell as an idea, right? I'm not in that position yet, but I can only sell like a slot in those. If you want to dedicate it, it's going to go into this vertical 3-minute. That could be a strategy for not long videos, but a dedicated short.
Well, you're on shorts.
Brands might like it.
Oh man, I don't know how to use shorts. So I'm using shorts as like my news. Hey, I've got this new thing happening. Like, hey, you want to come down to the cinema? So that's not how you should use shorts, but that's what I'm doing, which is not good.
And giveaway announcements too, I've seen, right?
Yeah, like announcements, like stuff like as a news thing. Like it's like a Twitter post.
Almost a community
like a
post kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm using shorts as a community post.
Yeah.
Which is not the intended purpose. So I don't need 3 minutes to do a community post. But I got to get into it. Like, it's always on the back of my mind, but I'm on the same boat as Daniel.
Your content is perfect for sure. I mean, your little sketches that you do, those would be amazing for sure.
Yeah, maybe I should just start with that. Oh, mate, the next sketch, not this iPhone video, but there's a S24 and a Xiaomi, bro. It's the lowest quality sketch I've ever done, but it's my favorite. Just putting it out there.
I love those.
Can't wait to share that one.
I need to make more. I need to buy more wigs.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, your alter ego thing. You sit on the sofa thing.
Yeah, I used to do those.
Yeah, I remember those. Yeah,
Samuel, your Dex one that you did, where you talked about how Samsung came up with Simpson Dix, that could 100% have been a short, and I reckon you would have taken off to the moon.
Was that for the Kiwis? Yeah, because that crossed my mind when you guys were talking about it earlier. I said that for the Kiwis, for our massive audience in New Zealand, they're not talking about parts. They're talking about Samsung Dix.
Oh yeah, bro. Samsung Dix is so sock. That's how sorry if any Kiwis are offended by that.
Kiwis don't get offended.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
So we've been definitely light on tech talk this time, but I think it's been really benefited from it. There's nothing, there's nothing much new to talk about. We've all got our devices, right?
We all know what
they're doing. Yeah. And, we'll be back to it, but it's just this time there was so much to talk about. One thing, sorry, I'm just going to indulge, and Samuel, this will be news to you, Alex and Daniel, you'll both know about it. Look, we've got a couple of 100+ creators here. We've got a 50+ creator. Me at my lowly level, have any of you had a rap written about you?
Oh yeah, no, I haven't.
Mate, Samuel.
What
one
the
day on
hell
Twitter.
was that?
Yeah, I was tagged on Twitter, and there was this rather disturbing character using my name, and I thought, well, maybe it's another David. No, he'd taken my video, my face was in there. I sent it to these two guys, and their first reaction was, "You know him, right?" No. My daughter's reaction was, "Are you safe?" I mean, he was kind of not the necessarily sort of person you want to share a coffee with. I couldn't work out if he was hating on me, which I think he was.
I thought it was a diss track. I think it was a diss track.
It was called the diss tape. Yeah. One of my mates has kept it in his iMessage to just play to me at any point. And every time he comes through this door, he just begins wetting himself laughing, looking. I said, "Don't give him more views. Come on, play." Yeah, somebody wrote a rap about me. It was quite alarming. Yeah.
All right. This is the first thing I'm going to look for when I
I would definitely watch that guy's. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. It was a moment, but there you go. Anyway, Samuel, been
you're not having any thoughts, right? If something happens to you, we should treat it seriously.
Let's put it this way. I'm making very sure not to dox myself in every single video now. I'm saying somewhere in the UK. I'm keeping it very open.
Yeah. Actually moved to Spain now, didn't you?
Again, oftentimes I get mistaken for an Australian for my accent. How can that possibly be? I've had it so many times.
I think it could be Americans don't understand the difference between a British accent and an Australian accent. They just think, no, that's 100% a thing. Like whenever you go or see American people, they automatically think British people are Australian because it's, "Oh, you must be from Australia." I'm like, "Well, you must be from England." I'm like, "No, I'm from Australia." They just
did you get when you were traveling this year? Then?
Not in Europe, but when I went on a cruise years ago with my wife, there's lots of Americans on board, and they just think they think we're from England. I'm like, "Nah, don't think so, mate."
For any Disturbed followers I might have, yes, I'm Australian, and I currently live in Melbourne. So I look forward to finding you there in Costa Coffee.
You've already discredited yourself as Melbourne. We don't say that here. Melbourne, mate.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I've blown that one out of the water as well. Bring a little class and erudition to the pronunciation of Melbourne, I like to think, but
Yeah.
Guys, it's been an absolute blast, isn't it?
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah, and loads of information as well. So, hopefully you'll be thick on the comments here because we had, again, good views and good comments last time. We are growing, and Samuel, it's been fantastic meeting you as well. Fantastic meeting you. Awesome. We'll link your
make
video.
Make sure to share your channel and everything.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll do all that in the description. So, fantastic, guys. Yes, thank you for all the love that the pod's been getting recently. It is definitely going places, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time. Who knows? We might have Samuel back. I think he's an all right guy, really. Yeah. It's not true what you said, Daniel. He's all right. He's definitely all right.
Yeah, no, he has definitely proven me wrong.
Let's have a meeting about that.
Look, it's the first time seeing you guys.
St. Alex has spoken.
I watch your stuff. Because I watch your stuff, it doesn't feel like it's the first time. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. Nice. Okay, guys. we'll get the pod up and we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time. Samuel, again, thanks, guys. Daniel,
Good night,
Alex,
boys.
always good to catch up. Yeah, good
Cheers.
night to you over there.
All right.
See you.
Speak soon. Cheers. See you soon. Bye.